Guess what, everybody? We're back. We're here today with another amazing guest. This guy I've known for quite some time now. And, today we wanted to talk travel. And we've got nonetheless the best person in the world for that, Kirk Webster, everybody. Say hello, Kirk.
Hi, everybody.
Kirk has told me some great stories of his travels around the world and how he kind of got all into it. And now here today, we're going to be sharing some of this because, you know what? I've really found the people that travel the world are more worldly. They're more adequate in talking and conversations. They're more adequate in life. Their door is open to more options. So being entrepreneurs or just being people in general, it's very important to be open to things, and travel certainly opens that door. So Kirk, tell everybody a little bit about you first.
Born and raised in a small town in Minnesota.
Minnesota.
I like to say farm boy, but we were kind of out in the railroad tracks area. But so I pretty much grew up there my teenage years, and then my mother decided it was too cold there after all the 15 years, and so we moved to Florida, and that was too flat and hot and, not attractive to me at the time, so picked up and moved to Beverly, I went to Pepperdine University out in Malibu, so graduated there.
That's a rough place to land, isn't it?
Yeah. When you're a freshman, you think, I'm going to go to the beach and get my homework done, and I'll just survive, and then after that, you don't go back to the beach, you just pretty much bury your head in the books in the library, and maybe on the weekend you would go down there. But it was kind of a surreal or unrealistic place to live. I mean, you're a college student, but surrounded by all that wealth. And I mean, checking out of the grocery stores next to Goldie Hawn was kind of cool, but they're just people too.
I just watched the movie Entourage, and I guess it's, to look at that story, and is it really true that they live like that up there? Pretty much, huh?
I haven't seen Entourage, but I probably should check it out. I've heard about it.
It's pretty out there. It's just like a bunch of rich people running around in cars and doing things, and everything just happens to fall in place, which sounds like Hollywood most of the time.
Well, I'll just say Bruce Jenner, but this is a Pepperdine story in Malibu. I interviewed him for radio back in college. That was my major. And in 1976, after he won the gold medal in the Olympics, I walked across the street to his house and interviewed him there.
Oh,
and
wow.
of course, he's still living in Malibu, but under another name. Yes.
Different conditions, right? Different conditions. Well, good for him. He's in the land of free and opportunity, and he's taking advantage of it, right?
Absolutely.
Everybody wants different things. So, Kurt, we obviously have talked a lot about travel and how excited you are about it, and maybe some people out there, like I said, might be interested in traveling themselves and learning more about where to start. I mean, it's quite an unknown, I guess is what I would say, is going out there and just going and booking a ticket to, say, land in England, and just from England take the boat to France and go around or wherever you want to go. I mean,
yes, I happened to go to school in Europe for my sophomore year abroad out of Pepperdine, and being a starving college student, I think they gave us like 40 marks, about $16 for lunch money, and I saved that money and bought a bag of apples. I think that was my lunch during the week. Saved as much of that $16 as I could. Now, this is when you could do Europe on $10 a day. Okay. I'm talking about back in 1975, by the way.
Right.
So it was, a lot less than it is today. I don't even think you can get maybe a bagel for $10 today. But anyway, and I hitchhiked everywhere, or, got in a train and, rode second class or steerage or wherever, to get around, and I think I still have the record for a college student over there. I went to 21 countries.
Wow.
in it was 10 months. Yes. So, I mean, I remember maybe a fond story of a holiday trip, and I was traveling with a couple of guys, and we were had to be back in school on the Monday, morning, of course, and it was Sunday. We're still in Spain, and we caught the train through Switzerland, and they had to be back at 8 a.m. And I thought, well, gee, we're here in Switzerland, and it's, late afternoon or whatever it was, and I had probably just enough money, I think, to get, after I found a place to stay. Those guys went back to Heidelberg, where I went to school. I said, I'm staying here. There's, this is beautiful, da-da-da. And I had, after paying for this little hostel or wherever it was in Yverdon, Switzerland, I was putting the money in the candy machine, and a gentleman asked me something. I guess maybe I was confused, or he said he thought it was Norwegian, and I had said no, I'm from California. Oh, America! Oh, I've been treated so nicely by people over there, and I kind of thought, oh, really? Well, I'm glad to hear that. And anyway, I haven't thought about this story in so long, but he invited me to dinner just because he was happy to reciprocate, because people had treated him so well in the United States. And that's just kind of for the listeners out there, you've got to kind of open yourself up sometimes, but if you just can do that. And then later he said, well, geez, it's been really nice. What are you doing tonight? Or, what are you interested in? And I said, well, I love events and festivals and especially sporting events. He said, well, our local hockey team is playing tonight and I have tickets. Would you like to go? And so there I was with a complete stranger who was, twice my age, could have been my dad or maybe my grandpa. But anyway, I, felt safe enough and I think everybody knew him. So that's kind of my, just kind of winging it kind of a thing. And the next morning I caught the first train and I made it to class on time. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, it was. And so you can do it on very little money. If you got a budget and you got to figure out how many days or weeks or months you can be gone and just, if you're going to happen, you're going to stay in a hostel, you're going to stay in I don't say, 4 or 5 star places. Those are,
expensive,
for people you probably don't want to meet.
It's funny you made me bring back memories, because I had a lucky opportunity to travel a lot myself as a professional bike rider. And, I always used to think like, God, they treat me better here in Europe than I do in America, as a star, but out there I was really a star. They treated me with 5 stars everywhere I went. And in America I was a star, and I'm from here and I wasn't a star really. It was just like another person. So you're right. You get that feeling like they just are genuine when you're traveling. A lot of people you think it's like, oh my God, I'm scared. I'm in this other country. But if you say you're from another country like America, they tend to, step it up to a new level for you, And I guess we do the same here. Now that I think about it, is when we have foreigners here, we tend to open up to them a little more than we do to the normal person. Just say, hey, yeah, this is our country. This is what we do. So it's kind of a great exchange that goes on that we really I can't even think about really. Even when you travel, you don't really realize that you're actually going to get treated better because you're a foreigner. Yes.
I think people are curious as to why you're visiting their country.
Right.
And if you do not become and I don't want to say this in a bad way, the quote unquote ugly American, but take a little time to learn something about their culture. And as we talked about a little bit beforehand.
I'd love you to share on that. That was great.
Maybe one of my travel tips, and I can repeat this at the end, but I always like to learn 3 words in someone else's language before I go there or while I'm there. It just breaks down doors. And kind of the knock on Americans is that we do not know the world as well as Europeans or other people, but on average. But if you can learn to say hello, hi, how's it is what they say in South Africa. Yeah. But it just kind of lets them know that, you know what, I'm interested in your country. So I took the time to learn at least 1 word. Or 2, good day, good afternoon. And then thank you. I've been taken around an island and dropped off because I said thank you in their language. And it just really can break down doors and make people feel like, you know what, I tend to say, since we're in Southern California, I always say I'm from California because people, oh, California, they see it on TV and in movies and that kind of thing. But if you maybe use that, the state you're from or something like that.
Exactly.
Yeah, if I lived in Alabama, I might say Alabama, and they'd say, "Where's that?" Well, it's kind of like your town here in Antwerp, Belgium, or something like that.
It's small and
just made that
unnoticeable.
But and then I always like to learn the word "where" because you're always going to be looking for something. So if you point at the map, or now, of course, we've got the Google Maps and our phones and all that kind of thing. But back in the day,
we didn't have that, did we?
No, we did not. So that was always kind of one of my 3 words that I'm always going to be looking for something. And obviously, you can make body movements for other things, if you're thirsty.
Exactly.
So,
I one time when I was traveling, it was really interesting because we got on a train to go to Mainz, Mainz, Germany.
Mainz.
Mainz. And I ended up in Mainz. Actually, let me switch it around. I was supposed to go to Mainz, Holland, and I ended up in Mainz, Germany.
Ooh.
And I'm 16, 17 years old. I got a bike box and all my travel gear, and got off on the wrong exit in the wrong country. And how much more of a hole can you be in? No speaking of the language, not even knowing what country you're in. You're dropped off in a hole in the world.
Yes.
And but it wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad. You just figured things out. And back then, like you said, we didn't have cell phones. We didn't have anything. Somehow we had to get a hold of the American consulate, or I don't know what we did, but we figured it out, and we were found, and we reappeared to existence in the right state and city way back when. But how can we help people realize that, it's a well-connected world, especially now, like you said, with digital technology, and we can convert things now on our phone. How do you say this? And Google will translate it, and so on and so forth. How can we bridge that gap for these people? I mean, you're an open book guy, so it's just it's second nature for you. But other people don't think the way you do, but they may need to want to learn to travel, and by convincing them today, we'd probably be changing their lives, because it opens up a whole new world.
I say to my nieces and nephews to go as far as you can for as long as you can. Save whatever monies. I mean, the world is such a welcoming place. It's not as dangerous as our media would make it out to be. But just carve out some time and a country you want to visit, and do it, because you can always come back and make more money and get another car or a bigger flat screen TV, all the kind of things that we tend to want to accumulate.
Yep.
But the memories, as they say, are priceless, and I prefer to travel. When I went around the world for the first time, I've been 2 times continuously around the world, but I just mapped out a trip for 12 months, and I pretty much was just hitting festivals and sporting events and things that I wanted to see that have been on my bucket list, let's say. And
when you think of bucket list, most people do think of travel, right? Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it might be seeing the Staatsoper in Vienna, or the opera in Vienna, or something like that. It doesn't have to be Oktoberfest, or for you probably seeing the Tour de France or being in the Tour de France would be on your bucket list. But I like to just go one place at a time. I have a little itinerary planned out, but I don't have a ticket. Only one way. And if you're in a country, there's usually a deal to get to the neighboring country or the next stop, just kind of like we flying to Las Vegas,
right.
Southwest, or whomever would have. Yeah.
It's a good thing to know.
Yeah. So it might take you an hour or two, either online or visiting some travel agencies, or looking at little chalkboards on the streets where we are to see when the next boat leaves. But it, in the end, can be less expensive than booking hotels, because somebody's going to meet you when you get off the train or the plane, or not necessarily the plane, or the boat. Like in Greece, they're there, and they'll take you to their little pension or whatever, or Zimmer Frei, or wherever country you're in. And if you don't like it, they'll take you back to the port, and you just
make it from there.
So
that's such a good analogy. I didn't realize that. Like I would first think, oh my God, I got to plan all these trips. I got to get all these plane tickets, all this. But you're right. Just get yourself there somewhere, and then plan from there, because you're right. It'll probably be a third of the price, maybe even, because you're going to a neighboring country or so on and so forth, and exchange of money might be worth more over there, and et cetera, et cetera. So that's such good advice as we speak right now.
Yeah. And you'd ask maybe about, I just mentioned Greece. I was a sophomore in college, and I went down to Greece, and of course, got submerged in their culture, but the names are all, like Stephanopoulos or, Somodakis or whatever. But where I'm going with this is, when I was a senior in college, I was going for an internship at KBC up in LA, and I sat down in front of a guy. I think his last name was Somodakis or something like that. And I'm patiently waiting. I look down on his desk, and his long name, it's like the alphabet,
right.
A lot of Greek names. And he said, "Why should I hire you?" And I said, "You Greek?" I said, "Kalimera or Kalispera," what it's good morning or good afternoon. And he said, "How do you know I'm Greek?" I said, "Well, your name is Stephanopoulos," or whatever it was. And he said, "You're a sharp guy." I mean, that's what travel does. It got me the internship.
Yep.
So just because I went and left my comfort zone and went to Greece and had a good time and, partied down and all that kind of thing. But you bring back some of those kind of priceless memories and then you put them to use here and boom, you're hired or up the ladder
And that's what it takes really when you get an interview is just kind of having that listening skill or that knowledge skill that touches just right like that. And that's so important to understand that, like, cause we all over prepare. We think we digitize it. Like we just make it like fake, when the situation like you're talking about there is like, you were real. You were just, I realized your name. I looked at it and took it in and because of my travel, I know it's similar to this country and it's a good guess.
Yeah.
But it's an educated guess.
Well, I just thought I'd take a chance. I mean, I don't try to overanalyze everything, just kind of sometimes just from the hip, like in my travel. But I was just told to be in this office at this time and sat down and I looked at his, placard on his desk and there you go. So
what was your most exciting experience in all your travels? I mean, you've been a lot of places. What's some people that have inspired you the most or an event that you've attended that was just spectacular? What's a must-see that you highly encourage people to go do or see?
Well, I've now been in 130 countries.
Wow. And
on a website, mosttraveledpeople.com.
The record is?
Well, they are, twice. Well, they count because they've been to every country in the world. They count how many states in the United States they've been through to, how many provinces in Canada, how many territories in Australia. It's just bragging rights. So they're at like 687 places in the world. They would count like, instead of attaching, like Easter Island is 5-hour flight from Santiago, Chile. It's a Chilean territory. So you could say, well, I've been to Chile, which I've been several times, but they count Easter Island as a separate entity, and it's called Rapa Nui. They speak their own language, and so those are the kind of things that make things different. But on that list, the last time I checked, which was quite a while ago, I was like the 387th most traveled person in the world. Oh, that's if cool. You count the United States and I've been in every state in Brazil pretty much.
Yeah. We need to get out there and start traveling more.
Yeah, I got to catch up. But most of those people are retired or have a heck of a lot more money than I do. But to get back to your question.
Yes.
And people ask me what my favorite country in the world is. I guess maybe we'll start there real quick. But I love Kenya. I've been there 3 times. Really? It piques all your senses, Dennis. The sights and the smells and the sounds, it just enriches you. That it's kind of like being, on the beach. You smell the smells of the salt, and you feel the sun and the water on you and all that. But then you look out, and what do you see? For as far as you can see, you see blue water, right? I mean, you see ocean. In Kenya, it's the same thing, except you're standing in, the savannah or wherever you might be. And as far as you can see, there's a giraffe. Oh, there's an elephant. Hyenas.
All right there.
Right there. And then, of course, the Maasai and the Samburu warriors, they're still herding their goats and cattle as they have for thousands some years, probably still the oldest civilization today that does that, and living in their cow dung huts and moving, migrating. And that is something that, some of them have Nikes on now and that kind of thing, and they're winning marathons, but it just takes you out of your, element. I mean, yes, Paris and the Eiffel Tower and, the Sydney Opera House and all that kind of thing are spectacular, but being there to me is just something that is,
Is it third world or is it?
Well, certainly the roads are bumpy, so it's in that regard, and they still go to the river to get their water, and that was one of my, I would say, a couple of highlights in my travel career. I'll be real quick, but the hot air balloon ride, if you go, any place in the world I'd love, but flying over or floating over the Serengeti in the morning when the sun is coming up and just warms your face, and you're just floating over the animals, and they're all out in the morning because it's cooler, and that's when they're stalking their prey and that kind of thing. And it's one of those times when I could just, if my friends could see me now, you pinch yourself. It's just that invigorating and exciting. And then the other experience, we were camping outside of game parks, pitch your tent and, collect firewood, and we'd all chip in and there's a guy making the meals, but I saw some women carrying water kind of back behind where we were camping. And I thought,
carrying
water. Some had it balancing on their head in these big containers, but the ones that were open weren't capped. They were carrying. And I thought, well, gee, I'm going to just check it out and see where they're going. And I thought, well, it's probably safe to leave this little village. They're not being attacked. So I walked a bit over to them. And again, I'm a linguist, okay? And I can still, if I said to them, Lete hapamaji, and that means bring water here. And I pointed, at their village in the distance. And they said, and Baxi, yes. And so I kind of said, can I help you? Carry it over there. I didn't know those words, but
right.
they got it. So I got to the entrance of their little cow dung, hut village, and there are 6-7 foot of briar, thorn bushes that keep the, lions and intruders out, and a little opening. So anyway, I thought, okay, I did my good deed for the day, and this was an experience. Didn't say too much to them. They thought, because I'm blonde, and I was even more blonde back in that day, they thought that was funny because they kind of touched my hair, and so I kind of touched their hair and laughed like they laughed at my hair. Anyway, so I thought, oh, this is great. I just, dropped the water off here. They said, Simba. Now here's another. Simba means come in, in Swahili. And I thought, okay, that'll be an experience. And this is back in 1970. When did I do that trip? 1985. So, you had no cell phones, no internet, no Wi-Fi.
No fine.
I may have been the, first, well, maybe I was thinking maybe the only or the last, blonde-haired, blue-eyed guy that they would see. But anyway, lots of kids came running up and all that kind of thing. And it was just a great experience. They invited me into one of their little huts, which, they have these branches that are lashed together, and they put the cow dung and the mud together to make, place to go in and just get out of the heat. And I thought, oh boy, if I've never seen again, or I'm going to get a spear through my side, this is the place. But they're not savage like that at all. No. But again, you've got to just go the extra mile. And I remember seeing there's a little opening where they look out into the briar to see who might be, coming and attacking or whatever, animals or something. And I saw a figure, and I thought, okay, I know a couple more words in Swahili. I'm just going to use one of them right now. And I said, kulala. And that means to sleep. And they laughed, and, I thought, oh boy, I probably butchered that word. But they gave me a little something as I was leaving. And just maybe because I knew 3 or 4 words, or I helped them bring the water, but it was like a gourd. They exist on like milk and cow's blood. That's kind of their nourishment, and especially little kids are out there, herding the goats and the cattle. So I think I still have that gourd somewhere, and that's my memory. And I haven't thought about that story, Dennis, in so long. But you asked me. Those are a couple little things from my travels, specifically in Kenya, and I've got a lot more of those. But
that was probably the one.
Yeah,
like one that
priceless memory that, and I'm still remembering the words and the image right now in my head as we speak.
I'm trying to do that myself. That's awesome. And so today you're learning from Kirk that opening up, trying new things, traveling is so important. And it certainly makes you more of now you come back here, you're certainly going to talk to anybody and anybody when you're doing business or doing anything. You'll be able to, hey, I just talked to some Kenyan people, or to talk to Paul over there in a business networking meeting, that's going to be a piece of cake, right?
Well,
if you put things in perspective, right?
Yeah. Those kind of experiences, whether someone says, I'm from Denmark, and Toba restaurant's the number 1 rated in the world. It's been on Anthony Bourdain's show and that kind of thing. But they're here in the United States, and so where they're from, and whether it's Kenya or Denmark, or yesterday we had the big Brazilian Day festival.
You were all about it
in Pacific Beach, and of course I was there, and I used to live and work in Brazil, so I'm listening to these guys talk, and I said, "Onde in Brazil?" Like, where are you from in Brazil? And they said, "Oh, Curitiba." And I said, "Oh, I know Curitiba," and there. So instantly we're kind of just
connected.
Yeah. Now, if I wouldn't have heard their accent, because not everybody that's at the Brazilian Day is, we have 50,000 Brazilians, I think, here in San Diego, but not everybody there is Brazilian. So it's just kind of a chance for me to practice my language skills and bond with somebody. And if I saw those guys just on the sidewalk any other time, I probably wouldn't have said hello, or
yeah, exactly.
They wouldn't have probably even given me the time of day. But just because I knew where Curitiba is, they kind of breaks down barriers anyway.
Awesome. Kurt, we're already way past our time.
Oh.
Can you believe that? 25 minutes already. Is there anything we can leave your guests with about opening up to travel that you can think of? Maybe some tips on maybe where to start, or obviously you gave some valuable advice right there is how it can open up to the rest of your world. I mean, it's really been a major, I've learned a lot here today. I'm ready to, of course I've traveled a lot too, but you just kind of get me a reminder that just open up to anybody and just see what happens. It's
yes.
Just explore communication, explore being who you are, and explore who other people are more so. And the words you used before too, I really want to recap on is he used thank you, hello, gratitude is everything, because people appreciate you saying thank you. They appreciate all that, and just that little bit got you a job, that little bit got, all that attention to people has just changed your life.
Yes.
Forever.
I mean, I appreciate it when somebody's from another country and they speak very little English and they say, how you?
Yeah.
Well, I know they want to say, how are you? Yeah. But I get it. And so my heart goes out because people have been good to me when I've traveled. So I kind of tend to give them more attention and say, how can I assist you? You're here in San Diego, how long? Oh, did you know that the next weekend is the big Kaboo music festival, or yesterday there was the Greek festival and the Brazilian Day and those kind of things. Right. Oh, the Padres are coming back to town. And so, but I think what I do in my next long trip is going to be to Mongolia and up to Siberia and through all the stans, Kazakhstan, and all the way over, end up on the Black Sea in Georgia. Get a map. And I still have pins that I put on the map. And so I get an idea of what it is I want to see and where it is, and I just kind of pin across the way kind of my route. And then you got to go back and say, well, how much time realistically do I have, and how long is it going to take to get from point A to point B? And whatever time that is, I mean, my trip is not going to be, for a 1 week thing. It'll probably be closer to 45 days or more. But then you got to back everything out and figure out, you got to do some homework. I love the Lonely Planet guidebook. I'm not getting paid to say their name, but that's the best kind of overland travel book. Grab one of those. And I know the listeners out there all probably know of that book, but everything's on the internet now. You can research how much flights are and what time they leave and the trains and this and that, but you got to have a little bit of a plan, especially for, in an exotic place like, Uzbekistan or something like that. Right. But, if you're traveling to Europe or through South America or Australia or wherever, things are, pretty much as they are on online. But, so you got to figure out a time and then a budget and then just go and do it. Just just do it.
It's just a lot easier nowadays than it was when 1970s and 80s for sure.
Yeah. You can keep in touch with your families. I mean, Skype like you do. And listeners are, what, you say 38 countries, Dennis?
Yeah.
Wow. That's just amazing.
More.
Goodness.
Right now I got to check up again. So.
Okay.
Awesome. Kirk Webster, thank you for coming on the show today. We didn't know what was going to happen here, but I think we made some magic happen. It was really a great twist to my show to have you come on and talk travel and talk to people about opening up to travel and how important it is to do that. And you've made several examples here today on the show, and thank you again for coming on.
Well, Dennis, I appreciate the invitation, and some of those stories I haven't thought about since 1985 or whatever, but thanks for letting me bark on the 5-minute bark.
Any way people can bark out to you? Is there a way they can reach you?
Yes.
If they have some questions?
Well, thank you. Yes. I'm on Facebook. My personal site, I've got 5,000 friends, but I've created Kirk's Events. So that's KIRKS and then the word events right behind it. And that's where I put up events that are happening primarily in San Diego, Southern California, but pretty much for, local people, and most of them are free or just fun. I like the couple I mentioned before. And then I have Bucket List Tours and Travel. That's another page on Facebook. And I'm primarily focused on going back to Cuba for the third time. So if you have any questions about the next
steps out there,
great place that's going to open up, or you just want to get there.
Open doors for sure.
Yeah. So, ask me a question on there, and I'm always available and give you my 2 cents anyway.
Awesome. Thanks again, Kirk, for coming on. And audience, thanks again for listening here today. And we're on to our next guests in a few more days. So that's it, folks. Bye, Kirk. Thank you again.
Namaste.
Download my ebook for free today and learn all the important secrets to make your website shine. Learn how to rank your website in Google in a matter of days. Also learn how to use Facebook to your advantage by creating interesting posts, great, vibrant business pages. And we'll teach you how to utilize private Facebook groups to educate and update your clients at a moment's notice. So if you're ready to take your business to a new level, download this free ebook today and learn more about the web than you've ever known before. Sign up today and use this platform to create massive change in your life. In order to create massive change, you need a dream. Within the Cody Dog Interactive platform, we've created a vision board where you can allow yourself to grow and dream and put the things you really want into your life in this vision board. From there, the next step is to go and make goals. We create a great place for you to set up those goals and set up tasks to achieve those goals. From there, then we need accountability. We've created a great way for you to be accountable to yourself and all the actions you have right here in the Cody Dog Interactive platform. If you're looking to create massive change in your life, Cody Dog Interactive has created a platform and a community for you to do just that. So sign up today and hold yourself accountable for that massive change you've been looking for.